Hey everyone, if these intense family drama stories hit you right in the feels, please smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Thanks for watching. The terrace of the old villa in Positano overlooked the Amalfi Coast like a postcard that refused to fade. Late June sun poured over the bougainvillea, turning the pink and purple blooms into living flames against the whitewashed walls. The sea far below was a deep, endless turquoise. It's the kind that made tourists stop breathing for a second when they first saw it. Inside the villa, laughter floated from the dining room where the wedding party was gathering for the rehearsal dinner. Stood just outside the French doors. Hidden behind the curtain of jasmine that climbed the pergola, I wasn't supposed to be there. I was meant to be in the kitchen checking on the limoncello cake, but I'd heard my name and stopped. Inside, the bride-to-be my fiancée. Valentina sat at the long table with her closest friends. Her wedding dress for tomorrow was still hanging upstairs, ivory silk with tiny seed pearls. The veil had taken her mother 3 months to embroider. Everyone kept saying how perfect it all was. Kalia, her best friend since childhood, leaned in with a glass of Prosecco, grinning. So Valentina, when are you finally going to make an honest man out of Marco? He's been waiting since you were 16. Valentina laughed, that light musical laugh I'd fallen in love with at university in Naples. Then she leaned back, swirled her wine, and said, clear as the church bells at noon, God, I hope never. I'd rather die than marry him. The table went quiet for half a heartbeat. Then Julia burst out laughing, assuming it was a joke. The others followed. Someone slapped the table. Someone else said, you're terrible. Valentina smiled. But her eyes didn't match the smile. I stood there, a tray of fresh figs still in my hands, feeling the world tilt sideways. 20-3 years of knowing her. 12 years of loving her. 9 years of planning a future together. The house we'd already bought in Ravello. The vineyard we wanted to restore. The children we'd talked about naming after our grandparents. All of it shattered in one sentence. I didn't storm in. I didn't shout. I just turned, carried the figs to the kitchen, set them down, and walked out the back gate. The narrow path wound down the cliffside toward the sea. I walked until the villa was a white speck above me. The sun was setting now, painting the water gold and crimson. I sat on a low stone wall and let the words repeat in my head until they lost their sharpness. I'd always known Valentine's family was old moneyland. Titles, connections that stretched back to the Bourbons. I was the son of a fisherman from Maori. My hands still carried the calluses from helping my father mend nets when I was a boy. They'd tolerated me because I studied architecture at the Federico II, because I was polite, because I loved their daughter. But they never stopped reminding me I wasn't one of them, and Valentina. She had spent years proving them wrong, or so I thought. I pulled out my phone. There were 3 missed calls from her. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the banking app. Our joint account, the one we'd opened together when we bought the house in Ravello, was still there. But the savings account in my name only, the one I'd quietly funded from freelance restoration projects, was untouched. 187,000 euros, enough to walk away clean. I closed the app and started, walking back up the hill. The rehearsal dinner was in full swing when I returned. Music drifted from the terrace. Laughter. Clinking glasses. I slipped in through the side door, changed into a fresh shirt, and rejoined the party. Valentina saw me and smiled bright. Perfect. She crossed the room, slipped her arm through mine. Where were you? She whispered. Checking on the cake, I said. She kissed my cheek. You're sweet, I smiled back. The next morning was the wedding day. The church of Santa Maria Assunta in Positano was packed. White flowers everywhere. The organ played batch. Valentina walked down the aisle on her father's arm, radiant, the veil trailing behind her like sea foam. I stood at the altar in my charcoal suit, hands clasped, watching her approach. When she reached me, her eyes were shining. The priest began. I waited just before the vows. I raised my hand. The church went silent. Father, I said, voice steady, I have something to say. Valentina's smile faltered. I turned to her. Last night on the terrace. You told your friends you'd rather die than marry me. Gasps rippled through the pews. Valentina's face drained of color. I heard you, I continued. Clearly, and I believe you meant it. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. I've loved you since we were children, I said. I've worked every day to build a life you could be proud of. But I will not marry someone who sees me as a life sentence. Looked at her father, who was half risen from his seat. Face purple. And I will not be the charity case your family has always wanted me to be. I turned to the priest. I'm sorry, Father. I cannot proceed. Then I looked at Valentina one last time. I release you from this promise. And I release myself. I walked down the aisle. The church was deathly quiet, except for the echo of my footsteps. Outside, the sun was blinding. I took off the tie, loosened my collar, and started walking down the steps toward the sea. Behind me, I heard the doors open, Valentina's voice sharp. Panicked calling my name, I didn't turn back. I kept walking. The path to the beach was steep and hot. Tourists stared as I passed, a man in a wedding suit with no bride. When I reached the water, I kicked off my shoes, rolled up my trousers, and waded in. The sea was cool against my skin. I stood there until the sun climbed higher. Until the church bells rang noon. Then I walked back to the hotel, where I'd left my bag the night before. I changed into jeans and a linen shirt. I took a taxi to Naples from there. A train to Rome. By evening, I was in a small apartment I'd rented months earlier. My escape plan. Just in case. I didn't check my phone for 2 days when I finally did. There were 147 messages from Valentina. Apologies. Explanations, tears in text form, from her parents, threats. Then please, then silence. For my mother, Filio mio. Are you all right? I answered only her. I'm fine, Mama. I'm free. Months passed. I took on restoration work in Rome churches. Palazzos, frescoes that needed careful hands. I met people who saw me for who I was. Not who I could be molded into. I never married. I never needed to. Valentina did eventually. To a lawyer from Milan, I saw the photos online. White dress, big smile, the same veil. The caption said she'd never been happier. I didn't feel anger anymore, just quiet satisfaction. Because the revenge wasn't in hurting her, it was in walking away on the day she thought she'd won, and in living a life she would never get to touch. I still go back to Positano sometimes. I sit on the same terrace, drink limoncello, watch the sunset, and I smile, because some cages are gilded, but they're still cages, and I chose to walk out the open door.